Yesterday we talked about system calls. What are the system calls?
Used by an application program to request any service from OS. Examples are fork, exit, open, close.
Application program which is currently in execution. A program in execution who want to communicate something or request OS, then it can use system calls, right? Today we'll see about virtual machines or virtual OS. Let me share a screen with you. Have you heard this term, virtual machine? Not about Java virtual machine JVM, but in general, virtual machine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are familiar with this term. So as the name says, virtual means it is not real. We are talking about virtual machines in terms of operating system. So instead of installing the OS, we can use virtual platform to execute some functions of OS if we need it. What are virtual machines? Slides are visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Virtual machine is a software which creates virtualized environment between computer platform and the end user, in which end user can operate software. So what are the requirements of software? And instead of installing it on your hard disk, you can have that platform readily available on your pen drive or any flash drive, and that will help you to execute your program as and when needed. It is not compulsory to install that software. Such softwares are called virtual machines. So virtual machine is nothing but a software which creates virtualized environment. For example, in case of Java, we use Java virtual machine. So every Java virtual machine is an interpreter which understands underlying hardware and will convert .class file to executable file. Similarly, virtual machine is no need to install it on your hard disk like we install Windows or Linux as an operating system, but it can be available on CDs, pen drives, and help you to for execution of the software. So virtual machine provide an interface which is identical to underlying bare hardware. It can understand the hardware and provide the interface. Can you switch off your mic, please? Sakshi? So it is an interface between, means similar to normal OS, which understands hardware as well as user. Operating system creates the illusion of multiple processes, each executing on its own processor with its own virtual memory. So we'll see how operating system can create an illusion of multiple processes which are executing on its own processor and with its own memory. Note that memory is also common and processor is also common, but each process can think that it has its own processor and its own memory because of our programming, or we are giving time sharing mechanism or multi-programming mechanism. Each process assumes that it has its own processor and memory because operating system creates that illusion. The term virtualization, it is an abstract layer that decouples physical hardware from operating system. So we learned about abstraction. Abstraction is hiding the details. So virtualization is the higher layer. Below that there is a hardware. So instead of understanding the hardware or communicating with the hardware directly, you can communicate with virtualizers, which provides this abstraction layer, which decouples, means separates physical hardware from the operating system to deliver greater IT resource utilization and flexibility. It allows multiple virtual machines with a heterogeneous operating systems to run in isolation side by side on the same physical machine. For example, you might have heard about dual bootable systems. On one machine, we can have two operating systems. For example, I can have Windows and Linux, and while at the time of boot, I can select uh, to switch to which OS. But at that time, I can only use one operating system at a time. I can use Windows or Linux in case of dual bootable. But in case of virtualizer, if I'm using virtual OS, I'm not wasting my hard disk or RAM. The virtualizers can be on CD or pen drive, and I can select that particular OS for particular application. So at a time, I can have multiple operating systems or heterogeneous operating systems executing in isolation separately on the same machine because of this virtualization. Each virtual machine adds its own set of hardware. It can have RAM, CPU, NIC, that is networking cards, etc., upon which operating system and applications are loaded. Note that operating system is also a software. It is a system software, and to run operating system should be a process. It should be loaded into main memory. So every time when we install OS or when we run virtualizer, that virtual machine or virtual operating system must be loaded into main memory. So for every virtual machine, we need RAM. RAM should be there, allocated separately for virtualizer. Even CPU, because operating system job is to allocate processes to the CPU. So CPU should be there. Some part of the CPU time should be allocated to virtual machine. Networking cards, OSs communicate with each other with communication lines over the network. So network cards, such hardwares are needed for every virtual machine. Using that, operating system and applications can be loaded. The operating system creates illusion of multiple processes, each executing on its own processor and its own memory. This line is repeated. How this virtualization started, history about the history. Virtualization was first introduced in 1960s to allow partitioning of large mainframe hardware. So if you have seen the mainframes are the server PCs used in, wait a minute. So it is not possible for single OS to control such a large hardware for mainframes. So there they started with allowing multiple operating systems on single hardware. Then in 1990s, researchers began to see how virtualization could solve some of the problems associated with proliferation of less expensive hardware, including underutilization, accelerating management cost, and vulnerability. For example, suppose the cost is very low, hardware is not that much expensive, and to run on that hardware, we need expensive operating system, which is not supported or which is not affordable. In that case, can we use the same OS which is already installed with the new hardware? So to solve those issues, to solve the underutilization of the hardware or accelerating management cost or resolving vulnerability, virtualization was reintroduced in 1990s by the researchers. The host software that provides virtualization is referred as Virtual Machine Monitor, VMM, or hypervisor. If you start studying about the cloud computing, you'll heard this word hypervisor or Virtual Machine Monitor. It is a software which provides virtualization. It allows programs to run on virtual machine or normal machine. It allocates the processes to particular operating system. So it manages all virtual softwares on your machine. So this software is called host software, which provides virtualization. It is VMM, Virtual Machine Monitor or Hypervisor. Virtual Machine Monitor gives each virtual machine an illusion of complete computer itself. Even if they are sharing CPU, memory, hardware, as well as operating system, every machine thinks that it is a complete PC in itself. So this can be a scenario. We can have on one particular machine different operating systems or different virtual machines, say VM to VN, and to control that, virtual machine monitor or hypervisor plays an important role. any new task or process can be allocated to particular virtual machine depending upon the needs of that process. This is how the architecture of virtual machine is. So similar to operating system, first layer is hardware, then kernel and shell, that is operating system layer, and processes. Processes want to communicate with the hardware through kernel. And B part is virtual machine. So in case of virtual machine, we have hardware layer as it is, but the OS layer is replaced by virtual machine implementation, and we can have multiple OS in as a form of virtual machines, VM1, VM2, VM3, and we can have separate kernel for every virtual machine, and processes for particular OS can be allocated to that VM, and they can communicate with this kernel. And this, it is called programming interface. Between process and kernel, there is a programming interface, and between kernel, virtual machine, kernel and hardware, it is hardware interface. Operating system sees a consistent normalized set of hardware regardless of actual physical hardware components. That means, what is hardware? What is this layer? Hardware means what? What is hardware? We call first layer as hardware, and operating system or program can communicate with the hardware. But what is hardware?
All the I/O devices.
Any example? Can I say mouse is my hardware?
Yes, ma'am. Mouse, processors.
Okay. When you read a data, I want to accept two numbers from user and store in variable A and B. So my program should able to read keyboard. The key I pressed, which is a 1, 0 or 9 or whatever the value. That value need to be stored in variable A, means need to be loaded in that particular memory location, which is represented by variable A. So it has to read from a keyboard and store it in main memory, right? So that memory or keyboard or mouse or the bus, address bus, data bus, these are all hardware. And as a user, as a programmer, I should not worry about whether the data bus is 16-bit or 32-bit or 64-bit. I should define, I should accept a result of data in binary form or hexadecimal form. I'm accepting data in numerical form or decimal numbers, not in hexadecimal or binary numbers. So that a system understands only binary or 1 and 0, but operating system is taking care of that. Whatever the hardware understands in that form, operating system converts your output or input and pass it to the hardware. So when you talk about the hardware is operating system also sees consistent normalized set of hardware regardless of actual physical hardware components. Actual physical hardware components are actual buses or RAM cards or network cards, etc. But operating system sees it in the form of we see as a software engineer, variables or constants. In that form, operating system look at the hardware. So benefits of virtual machine, first thing is partitioning. We have multiple applications and operating system supported with a single physical system. So one OS can support multiple virtualizers, and multiple applications with a variety of requirement can execute on same machine. There is no overlap among memory, as each virtual machine has its own memory space. So it is not like one OS is capturing the space of another OS. Every virtual machine should have its own memory, and there is no overlap between memory among memory, as each virtual machine has its own space. Second benefit of first is partitioning. Second benefit of virtual machine is isolation. Virtual machines are completely isolated from host machine and other virtual machines. So every virtual machine act as in it is a complete PC. So it doesn't care about whether the second OS is running parallelly or second mm, operating system is executing parallelly. It is in isolation. It acts as it is the only OS or only memory is allocated for that OS only. Virtual machines are completely isolated from host machine and other virtual machines. If virtual machine crash, all others are unaffected. See, this is very important. When one virtual machine has a problem, when one virtual machine stops due to some hardware problem or networking issue, it won't affect the execution of other virtual machines or other computers. Data does not leak across virtual machine. Again, a security concern. As the same machine or same PC, we are partitioning into different virtual machines. So it is always the threat that whether this data will be shared with other virtual machines or they may access our data, which is very important data or authenticated data. So such things won't happen. Data will not leak between across the machines. The whatever the memory allocated for virtual machine 1 will access only that part of memory. It won't access, it is not able to access other part of memory which is not allocated to that particular OS. To summarize virtual machine, we have seen that virtual machines are a number of discrete identical execution environments on a single computer. Single computer is divided into different virtual machines. So it is providing different execution environments. Each will run as an operating system. This can allow applications written on one OS to be executed on a machine which runs with different OS, which provides greater level of isolation between processes than is achieved when running multiple processes on same instance of OS. So there are different ways of multi-processing and multi-programming. Multiple programs are executing together, executing at a time. Is called multi-programming. And what is multi-processing? One process is divided into different processors. That is multi-processing. So I can give you an example of multi-processing and multi-programming. Suppose I have to correct your answer sheets. I have 10 answer sheets, and I am so answer sheets are the processes and I am a processor. I am processing those answer sheets. So when I have multiple examiners with me and we are checking those papers, so that is multi-processing. We increase number of processors, so the job of checking say 9 assignments or 9 papers will be divided into 3 processors, and each processor will perform evaluation of 3 answer sheets. So task is reduced, load is shared, and execution will be fast. So that is process is one. Process has 9 jobs, and those jobs are divided into different processors. So that is multi-processing. And what is multi-programming? Multiple programs are executed by one processor. For example, suppose I can do another type of parallelism is every programmer or every processor will check only question number 1, and then it will pass those answer sheets to another examiner. He will check question number 2, then will be passed to the third examiner and he will check question number 3. So here we have 3 processors, but they are working on the same process. Only they are executing one process, but some part of that process. That is again multi-processing, because processors are multiple. And multitasking is when multiple tasks are done by a single processor. One processor is performing various tasks at the same time. So in case of virtualizer, what happens? It allows application written in one operating system to be executed on machine which run a different OS. So you can get flavor of what we can say platform independence on one machine itself. So if you have written a Java program and you have to check it with across multiple platforms, whether it is executable on Linux platform, Mac OS, or any other PCs, you can install that virtualizer and check. So it provides greater level of isolation between processes. That is also achieved when running multiple processes on same instance of OS. Any queries about virtual machine? So in virtual machine, we have seen what is the definition of virtual machine. Then we talked about virtualization, the history, when it started. Then we talked about virtual machine monitor or hypervisor, We have seen how hypervisor communicates with virtual machine and actual hardware, and it controls various virtual machines. In every virtual machine has its own RAM, its own processor, CPU, and other hardware. And as virtual machine itself is a OS, so it has its own kernel. Processes are allocated to virtual machines by virtualizer or hypervisor. We have seen features and benefits of virtualizer, that is partitioning, isolation, and then we have summarized it. Any queries about virtual machine? Let me start with shell commands. Now this part is mainly related to our lab work. I didn't know when we are starting with our labs, but as a part, we can also try this assign commands on your command prompt. I'll share this PPT with you. If you have Linux installed, you can try these commands, or I'll try to find out any virtual or online editor is available for shell commands where you can try out these commands. So what are the shell commands and where they are used? Where we need shell commands? What is a shell? Yesterday we talked about shell. Girls, are you there? Hello? Chinmay?
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
shell acts as an intermediate between user application and kernel. So it can talk to applications and the kernel and pass the instructions to kernel.
Right. And what we call shell as, what are another name for shell?
Command line interface.
Command line interface, interpreter, or it is also called control card interpreter. And what are the shell commands? Instructions given to the kernel or operating system to perform some task or give some application or run some application, and those commands are executed on a command prompt. So shell commands, we'll talk about shell commands of Unix, or it is also called Unix commands. So when you first log in with Unix system, you are presented with something that looks like this. If possible, I can start a terminal. I don't know whether it will be visible or not. Can you see this terminal? Terminal is visible or my screen is visible?
No, ma'am, it's all black.
It's all black. I'm not able to share a screen. I have to share windows.
Ma'am, if you're on Linux, generally Firefox doesn't allow sharing the entire window.
Yeah. Even it is not
Um,
allowing me to share a tab. I have to share window, not a screen or tab. Okay. I have already executed these instructions and pasted this output from my machine only. So whenever you first log into Unix system and go to the terminals, go to the application and type terminal, and on a terminal you can see such prompt. Whatever your username, then at the rate, and then localhost, and this dollar sign. So this is called prompt. So this is called prompt. This prompt you can see also in on Windows machines. Go to the run and try to run CMD command. So you'll see command prompt. There you will see C colon or whatever your username is, and colon and triangle. So that is a DOS prompt. This is Linux prompt. Okay. So as its name would suggest, it is prompting you to enter a command. So you have to type something here. I think slides are visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
have
ma'am.
a prompt. So every Unix command is a sequence of letters, numbers, and characters. But there are no spaces. This is very important. Command is a sequence of letters, numbers, and characters. You can have underscore, you can have hyphen in between, but no space. So every Linux command is made up of letters, numbers, and some characters. Unix is case sensitive, like C, C++, Java. So CAT, this command is used to create concat files. And if you say capital CAT, that is a different command. The prompt is displayed by a special program which is called shell. So it is also called shell prompt. So shell accepts commands and run those commands. As shell itself is called command line interpreter. So whatever the commands you type, it interprets it and executes it. They are also be programmed in their own language. These are called shell script. So similar types of, or whatever the sequence of shell commands, you can gather together as a script or as a small program and store it as .sh file, and that can be executed with shell command. So that is called shell script. Scripts are very small programs, small executable programs or list of commands. In Windows platform also we have such a list of commands which is called batch file, BAT. Batch files are similar to shell scripts. There are two major type of shells in Unix. We are talking about Unix: Bourne shell and C shell. So Stephen Bourne wrote the original Unix shell SH. And most shells since then end with the letter SH to indicate that they are extension of original idea. Linux come up with Bourne shell, which is called Bash, written by Free Software Foundation. Bash stands for Born Again Shell. So Born Again Shell is by Linux. Is default shell to use running Linux. So if you have Linux versions like Fedora or Ubuntu, the shell you are using is Bash shell. So we have C shell and Bash shell. When you first log in, the prompt is displayed by Bash, and you are running your first Unix program, that is a Bash shell. So always that shell is in execution. It is the first Unix program which is currently in execution. As long as you are logged in, the Bash shell will constantly be running. So that shell is continuously running at the background. So we'll start with Linux or Unix commands. So first, suppose we need some help. So there are various internal commands for help. That is man. Man command gives you, man is a short form for manual. So man, and you can type a command. For example, suppose I want to know about ls command. Ls is for listing. It is like dir, directory command in Windows. So man ls. It will give all information about ls command. It returns manual pages. So man command displays reference pages for command you specify. The Unix man pages, that is man is short for manual, cover every command available. To search for man page, either man followed by the name of command to find. Enter man followed by name. For example, I have entered man space ls. Ls is listing command. So it will print summary of listing command. and we can press enter or Q for if you are done with this, you can press Q to come out or exit, and to see more information you have to just print spacebar. There is a keyword function in man. So if you are interested in any command that deals with PostScript, the printer control language of for Adobe. Suppose I want to know information about PostScript. So I can type PostScript as a complete word or just PS as a short form. You will get listing of all commands, system calls, and other documented part of Unix that have the word PS or PostScript in their name or short description. So this -K option will search all the documentation of Unix and give you the list of files, the list of commands, the list of system calls, which has this PS word. This can be very useful. You are looking for a tool to do something, but you don't know its name or even if it is exist. So suppose I want, say, to play music. I didn't know what are the tools on Linux to play music. So if I search MP3 or MP4, or if I search for audio files, then it can give me the commands which are used for executing or playing audio files. Next command is cat. So cat command is used to concatenate or display contents of a file. So you can concatenate two files to each other, or it can display contents of a file. So just put cat and enter, and you can type something. So if you type this and then you have to press enter and you type this, the text indicates that we type to the cat file. So to end many Unix commands, type end of file, that is EOF or Control D. So to come out of this and come back to the prompt, you have to type EOF or press Control D. Suppose I have to display contents of a file which are stored on the path and my file name. So syntax is cat and file name. So cat and program1.c will display that program on the prompt. And just check whether online terminal is available for practice. To see Linux commands, we have to press tab key. If you want to learn commands beginning with C, so you can type C and press tab key. So you can see all the commands starting from character C. Unix provides files and directories that we are going to see in unit number 4. A directory is similar to a folder. Large folders can even hold other folders. So one directory can hold other subdirectories. So in Unix, we have collection of directories and files, which is called file system. And the topmost directory is called a root directory. File system consists of one directory, which is the topmost, which is root directory. Inside root directory, there are more directories, and inside those directories, there are files and 8 other more directories. So this is a tree-like structure. So it starts from root, then list of directories. Each directory can contain other directories or files. And for each file and each directory should have a name. Okay, the short name of a file could be add, and full name can be, so the name of file, for example, my program is program1.c. So program1.c is a short name, and the full name is the complete path, C colon, say Java programs, and then program1.c. Or I here in case of Linux, I can have /home/ccew and add. So file name itself is a short name, and full file name with a complete path is called full name. The full name is usually called path. Path is divided into a sequence of directories. So home directory, then ccew directory, and then this is a file. So first slash, this green slash is for root. No need to give a path from root in case of Unix. So initial slash indicates the root directory. This signifies directory called home. It is in root directory. So home is in root directory. ccew is in home directory, and this is add is inside the ccew. So path could be referred to as either directory or file name. So it could be either. So we can give path of directory also, and we can give path of file also. So this is how the directories are stored in Linux. Root directory, then it has many directories like home, and it can have other subdirectories and ccew and files, and this is add file. This is called directory structure. If you write just add, it is a short name. If you write home, ccew and add, it is a full name or path. So to search a particular file on your Windows machine or Linux machine, assume that we didn't have GUI, we have to use keyboard and commands to search or to deal with the files or directories. Then these commands are useful. For example, ls command. Ls is called list files. In Windows, we have dir command, directories, to search the directories. So if you try ls, it will show all files in that particular folder. So ls lists the name of files in that particular directory or folder. For example, if I press ls and slash will give you only the directories. Ls followed by slash will give you only directories at that particular path, the list of directories. Okay, I'm able to show you the terminal, online terminal. We'll try some commands here. The screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So first I'll take man. Man is for manual, man and ls. Oh, man is not found. So ls is for listing. As it is a virtual or online editor, I didn't know what commands it will support. We'll try out the commands which, see, ls is for listing. If I give ls and slash, it will display directories. It is displaying only directories, and ls will display only files. Okay. Cat command, cat say hello dot c. Here in listing I found hello.c. So if I write cat and hello.c, it will display contents of hello.c. Is it visible? So cat command is used to display files in a particular folder. So one more option of ls command, ls and -f. It will display types of files. So we have these are different types of files: Python files, C files, JSON files, and TXT files. So you can get information about ls using help also. These commands are not available here. Back to the presentation, and we'll try out these commands. So -f option, it displays file types. So ls and -f will display different file types. An option is a special kind of parameter that starts with dash. So command followed by dash and the character will select a particular option from that command. So we have different commands: ls -l, display all the details. We'll see -f option is to for specific files, slash is for directory, l is to display listing details. I'll stop after ls command, don't worry. So if I try ls and -l, it is displaying total 16 files, and this some magical number. Then this is again a some sequence, root, this and the date, and then file name. So all the information about file. This we are going to see what is this. These are the permissions given: read, write, read to user, group, and others. User, groups, and others. Then it is in root directory. User is root, group is root, and this is the size of file, and this is the date at which it is created, and file name. So all the details you can see using -l command. So many Unix commands are like ls. They have options, and which are generally one character after a dash, and they have parameters. Unlike ls, some commands require certain parameters or options. You will learn these commands. We are going to learn these commands. PWD. PWD command is called present working directory. So if you didn't know, because in Windows, in Linux, it is always a short path shown. It won't show you starting from root. So if you want to know what is your current directory, so you can type this pwd, which will give you present working directory is root. If I'm in other directory, I'll check what are the directories. I want to go to say home, so I'll say cd home. Turn cd to home. Okay. cd change directory. We can change directory. I can create directory. Make dir is to make directory. if I create ABC and CD ABC, I'm changing the directory to ABC. I can create XYZ, make directory, MKDIR to make directory, say XYZ, and I'm changing to that directory. So what is the path? What is the path for XYZ? It is root ABC and XYZ. I'm currently in home directory, root home ABC and XYZ. And if I search here PWD, present working directory, it will show me the complete path, root ABC and XYZ. So we talked about ls command, man command, mkdir, cd and pwd, present working directory. I'll share this path with you where you can try out these commands. Here in our Moodle tool, and I'll share this PPT with you. You try out these commands, and in next lecture we'll discuss further commands.